welcome to a very special edition of Medicine Meadville. I'm Dwayne Kohler from Meadville Medical Center. And recently it was Cancer Survivor Day that was hosted at the Yolanda G. Barco Oncology Institute. A number of survivors were out to give talks. Some of our oncologists were there. Lots of fun things went on that day. We were out there with the camera, and I think you'll enjoy A, hearing from the survivors, and B, seeing how positive things are. It's not a bad thing. The cancer, nobody wants that news, but the survivors, I think, very inspirational to me anyways, and so I was tickled to be out there with the camera and recording some of those things. So we'll share with that with you here later in the show. But first up, we have a cancer survivor who's written a book, a local person, Debbie Mitchell, and I'm really excited to get her to tell some of her story, and I think you will be too. I think you'll be very impressed. So stay tuned, a very good show today for you. Stay tuned. Well, joining us now is author. Isn't that fun to get introduced that way?
Yes, it is.
Author.
Yes.
Debbie Mitchell, welcome to Medicine in Meadville.
Thank you.
I want you to tell your story here in a minute, but tell about the author part. What's that like? How'd this get to be something that you decided to make into a book?
Well, I have a cousin who is a writer, who's a pretty successful writer. He's written 3 or 4 books that have all been on the New York Times bestsellers list. So. You know, I had written, after I'd gone through my experience with my cancer, I had sent out a letter, basically a letter thanking my family and friends for the support and, you know, all that good stuff. And my cousin, who is the writer, actually, he called my father and he said, you know, Debbie really has a knack for writing. If she ever decides to write her story, I think that, you know, I think it would be a great thing and I would help her. And, you know, his encouragement made me think, you know, maybe I should. You know, maybe I should write. And the story, you know, there were so many miraculous things that happened along the way, and, you know, so much support that I got from the community. And I thought, it is a good story, it's a positive message, and maybe I should. So he kind of helped me along the way, and that's how the story kind of came about.
Yeah, that's great. Well, in going through myself, it really touched me. Your story is a lot like my wife's story. She lost her mother at a relatively young age. Mm-hmm. A girl needs to have her mom there for graduation and for pre-wedding stuff and for being there at your wedding, and you know, and she didn't have that, and similar to your story. Likewise, whenever my wife was diagnosed with cancer, sitting next to her, holding her hand, I will never forget the feeling that I had going through that. And let me ask you about your experiences and things that you talk about in your book, but just, you know, maybe a few highlights.
Well, you know, I never expected, you know, and I don't think anybody does expect to be diagnosed with cancer. I always had a fear of cancer because my mom died at the age of 38. So my whole life I kind of feared cancer. And then, you know, and my husband being a physician, being the one who had told me that I had cancer, you know, he's the one. I went in to the ER, which we thought was kind of just something normal, routine thing. And he was the one who told me that I had cancer, so how difficult that was for him.
Let me ask you, being on the receiving end of that news, and again, I have some experience with this, but is there like a perfect way to get that news? Obviously, you don't want, I talk all the time, we have doctors on, and we were always talking about, I don't want to get that news and whatever, so I'm not going to go get the screening, and you know, you don't want the news, but the sooner you get the news, the better you can have a chance to get it fixed and all that kind of stuff. So, am I wrong? I mean, you know, talk about that if you would.
Well, no, you know, I'm so glad that my husband was direct with me and told me, because my mother was never told that she had cancer. And I always, growing up, thought I would want to know, you know, and I would want to get right into it. And that's exactly, you know, what my husband did. He set up my first surgery. I never left the hospital that day. I was wheeled right up as soon as we found out that I had stage 4 colon cancer, wheeled up and you know, operated on within a day or two. And then my operation on my liver, he had set everything up before he actually ever came in to tell me that I had cancer. But I'm glad that he was direct with me, and we went, right to work. I mean, it was hard to hear, but once I adjusted myself to the news, I was ready to fight it.
I had a family member, and it was prior to the holidays, and I don't want anybody to be upset, and so we're going to think about it over what to do. And again, and that, unfortunately, that family member passed away. I'm like, the second we get that news, we're moving here.
Right.
I guess like you, what would you say to someone else who was in that same boat?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to deal with it head on, and you have to address it immediately. Most cancers, and even serious cancers like mine, if they're treated early enough, you can save your life. So I think the longer you wait and hesitate, I was very fortunate because my husband, being a physician, was able to. He knew where to go, and he knew what to do. I think it's hard if I wasn't married to a physician. You want the best care, but you're not exactly sure. Am I doing the right thing? Who should I see? Where should I go? So I did have that, fortunately, that my husband was able to figure out where we needed to go, who we needed to see, the best people we needed to see, and to deal with it. But yeah, for anybody else, I would say get as many opinions as you can and start right away, because the sooner you start, the less that cancer is going to spread and hopefully save your life.
I know Meadville Medical Center has a nurse navigator for lung cancer and for breast cancer, exactly for what you're talking about.
Right.
Get those things, yes, there needs to be a biopsy, yes, there needs to be an appointment with the oncologist, all those things, get those things going quickly. And
Right.
again, maybe another bias, but I think folks are reacting to grandma had cancer way back and the treatment was so difficult for her and whatever. And it's changed. It's no fun. I get that. Just, but can you talk about that for a sec?
Yeah, when my mother passed away, she was 38 years old. By the time she was diagnosed, unfortunately, it was too late. The cancer had already spread. But of course the treatments. There's so many advances, and almost daily, there's it's a lot different than it was when my mom had cancer. And and I often wonder if, even if it had been caught early enough, if she would have survived, just because the technology was not as advanced as it is today. But I'm always amazed, when I watch the news and, you see these advancements. It's just incredible. And I think that cancer surviving today is a lot more feasible than it was back in my mom's day. So, we're in a good time. We're in a good time with the treatments and where to go, and with the internet. There's a lot you can gain from that. And there's a lot of physician information that you can get that was not possible back then. So
I have another bias, and I remember as a little kid when I was maybe 4 or 5 or something like that, and my grandmother had breast cancer, and other family members wouldn't say that word. They would whisper, when my brother and I were, they wouldn't talk when we were in the room and so on. And that's changed a lot, and to me that's a very positive thing. Here we are, we're talking to, with our audience today about your cancer case, and that's a good thing. I mean, the world has changed that way, and it's not something that needs to be whispered about and whatever. Let's get it. Right. I want your take on this, but let's get it out there and let's talk about it, and don't put it. Get the screening. Get the
right, and that's exactly right. With my cancer, that I didn't want to hide it because I had that fear my whole life. And that was, honestly, I thought you get cancer, you die. And that was just from, I was only 4 years old when my mother died. So, the impact of something like that on a 4-year-old, watching your mom, who's 38 years old, from the time she first went into the hospital, 6 months later, she was gone. So, it's very scary, was very scary for me my whole life, and I always thought when someone I knew would get cancer or pass away or I was sick, that fear was always there. Oh, do I have cancer? Is that going to happen to me? And that was in the back of my mind. And that, that fear, that I think I'm not alone. I think there's a lot of people who do fear that, because everyone knows someone who's had cancer or has cancer, or they have, everybody can relate to that. So, and I think for a lot of people, it's still, that myth is still out there that you get cancer and you're going to die. And that's not the case. And, especially with me, I think, having a cancer that was a stage 4 colon cancer, that only basically, statistically, only about 1 out of every 12 people will survive that. So that's very scary. Well, I'm still here 5 years later. So, and I think, that's a testament to the fact that it's not a death sentence, and you shouldn't treat it as a death sentence. And you have to get those screenings. Just like my colonoscopy, they say that you shouldn't have your colonoscopy until you're in your 50s. Well, I got cancer before that. So maybe even, in your 40s is the time to look at that and get that screening done. But yeah, I think awareness is so vital to helping others. So for me, and also, my journey was a positive journey. There were so many positive things that came out of it, rather than negative things. And I think you really, your whole perspective on life can change, when you see that there are so many people out there who support you, who love you, who will tell you things that you're not going to hear, when you're well, and you, so it was a lot, it was just an amazing journey for me. And so, yeah, I thought, I have to write this book. I have to get that message out there.
Again, another thing that touched me about your story, and I'm relating back to my wife, our kids at the time were 9 and 11 or 10 and 12, something like that, when she was diagnosed. And there was dance class, and there was this activity and that activity. And so it became Dad now was getting the kids to there. I didn't do very well with the dance class stuff, but we got them there. I don't think I cooked dinner a single time in the whole, whatever it was, 4 months that she was going through chemo. Yeah. Friends just would show up and brought dinner.
Right.
And a similar thing happened to you. Is that right from your story?
Oh yeah, I was just amazed how many of our friends, and I mentioned that in the book. It's just, you see all this bad stuff on the news, and you start to wonder, are there more bad people than good people? But you really do, when you're ill like that, it's just amazing how your friends come to support you. And we had a freezer full of food, and people just kept bringing food. Tom was the same way, because he wasn't, he doesn't cook too much too. So, but yeah, I mean, we really had amazing support, and even as I mentioned in the book, even from strangers and people that we barely knew, who really rallied around us. And for me, that was just eye-opening, and it really does change you, because you almost want to pay it forward. You see that there are all these people who are willing to help you and come out in your time of need. So that was another reason that I wrote the book, is just to show that positive side of humanity, which I was lucky enough to see.
One more thing I wanted to ask you about. When you have a scare, a serious situation, the way you look at things is a little different after. Again, I'm relating back to, I went through that too. Let me ask you about that. How was that for you? How do you see life nowadays?
Yeah, it's amazing, because there are just so many things that you take for granted that you don't even think about on a day-to-day basis, just because you're trying to, do all the stuff, take the kids here, do this, do that, go shopping, do this. But now I do look at the world through different eyes. I like to hike up in the woods every day, and I always just stop to admire everything around me. the world just becomes so beautiful. You look at nature and the beauty of nature and trees and gardens, and you do have such a profound appreciation for life and the things around you and the people around you. Even just watching my kids, I love to watch them laugh. So now, you just watch them, and you just have to, I thank God every day, like, that I'm here, that I got to appreciate this, that I wasn't taken away, too soon. So it really does change how you view the world.
Well, your story is inspirational. It certainly was to me.
Thanks.
So how does somebody get the book?
The book is available on Amazon.com,
Okay.
and it's $6.95. The book is also available through Kindle, and if you go on Amazon.com, you can get the Kindle version of that, and that is $4.99. And I wanted to do something special for anyone buying the book. Not only will you get a great book, but I am going to, like I said, paying it forward. I wanted to do something for the community as well. So any books sold during the month of August, I am going to donate $1 to the Cancer Center here in Meadville. So it's my way of giving back, and it's a great inspirational book. We're getting a lot of amazing feedback on it. So it's all around, helping all around. It's a good book and it's a good cause. So.
Well, thank you for that. That's awesome. There are lots of things that I didn't even think about. To get to my cancer treatment, I may, spouse has to work, and I may not have a ride there. And there are lots of things out there to help you with all those kind of logistic details, to get your treatment and so on. And so, thanks for that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Debbie, I was very impressed with your book. Thank you very much for coming and talking today.
Thank you.
I think folks need to get this. So what you just said, go and get the book and share it with your friends. We have a health tip for you today. Stay tuned for that.
Hello, my name is Amy Prezapora, the breast care coordinator at Women's Diagnostic Imaging Center of Meadville Medical Center, with your health tip of the day. Just reminding women age 40 and over to do clinical breast exam once a month. See your doctor once a year for a clinical breast exam, and have a yearly mammogram starting at age 40. Thank you, and this is your health tip of the day.
Again, thank you all for being here. This has been a wonderful day again. We're lucky. I hope every year when we do this, we have the same weather. And I just want to say thank you to our survivors, and our shirts really say it all. We're celebrating life today. You've all, whether you were diagnosed yesterday or 20 years ago, our feats are going on, and I'm really proud of everybody here. Our staff here is absolutely amazing today. I have walked through here. Everyone planned things out ahead of time, and then today when we came, people went into their spots and have just worked together like clockwork. It's very impressive, and I'm also proud. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up our first speaker, because you don't need to hear from me. You need to hear from our survivors. So here is Allison Brady.
Hello, everyone. I am very blessed to be here, obviously. Most of you who have gone through chemo, it's just nice to be able to have some opportunities to do things like this. I can tell you that I was a active chemo patient, as I would say, from October 2014 till October 2015. I would like to thank everyone who donated money to this center, who works at this center, who volunteers at this center, because this place truly made a not so great situation very bearable, and you should be proud of what you do every day. I think it's amazing when you look around, and I've always been proud to be a part of the Meadville community. Came back, my family's from here. But we truly have the best center right here in Meadville, so thank you, every single person. When you go through the treatments that you do, everybody has an angel on earth, and mine was Dawn Mel, and she's the only person who could convince me to do this right now. So my much love for you right now is shaking, but I do love you. I think there's a lot of alumni here, and that's how I'd like to refer to us, because it also is graduation time. And I think there are a lot of people in this room who inspired me and helped me through. And I want to thank each one of you for your support and your help. And I think now it is my turn to help some other people around. And I really feel that's what this place does as well. It's made a family, and the family that we all have here I think is pretty impressive. According to Dawn Mel, I did chemo well, bless her heart. So that's why I'm here, to hopefully help a few of you that are going through it with different things that I did to make it better. And I was inspired by one of the clients that was here that was all into superheroes, and he came dressed as a superhero, and he did all those things. So my speech today is kind of like finding your superpower. I think each one of us has something that makes us strong. There's no question mine was my family, my friends, dogs. Love dogs. I'm going to tell every single one of you, go get a dog. If you don't have a dog, make sure you use the therapy dogs, because dogs are fantastic. But we did a lot to make myself stronger during it, and my son and my husband always planned something special right before my chemo treatments, whether it be a special meal, a special trip, something like that, that really actually I had something to look forward to before I didn't feel that great. The other thing that I did is I considered myself a mask, superpower person. You saw me in a mask and gloves for 1 year. I looked crazy. But do it and walk through Walmart. You wouldn't believe how many people look at you wanting to know why you're wearing that mask. But it did help you, and it did help me with my immune system, which I really had to protect. And that was the one thing that I really tried to do. I can tell you the biggest, as I'll refer to it, was negativity. So I did everything in my power to make myself feel stronger. I did research on juices and everything like that. And if anybody in this room would ever need me, feel free. Dawn Mel can find me. I'm pretty easy to find, actually. But I would love to help anybody who's going through it, because your hair grows back, your eyelashes grow back, your eyebrows grow back, and eventually you get your energy back, is what I'm told. So I'm still hoping for that energy back, but we're getting there. The one thing that I really did a lot with was music, and there were different songs and different things that really helped me through. And there's a Tim McGraw song out right now that I'm sure we all know that talks about humble and kind. And it says, when you get where you're going, don't forget, turn back around, help the next one in line, always be humble and kind. And I think that is what I, as a survivor, can hopefully help the next person, because there were so many people in this room that helped me. And when I got diagnosed, I was shocked. I have my story that I found out on the 5th, had to have surgery on the 11th. And for those of you who know my type A personality, that was not the plan. That was not what I was supposed to be doing. I had things to do. I wasn't supposed to do this, but I did it. And I thank God every single day. And I had a lot of time to pray while I was going through chemo. But I thank God every single day for giving me this opportunity to hopefully help the next person. I love you all. You can do it. We are survivors, and every single person in here in our support system makes us survivors. So congratulations for this wonderful day, and I wish every one of you the best. And I want to thank everybody here at Yolanda for everything you do on a daily basis, because you guys truly are all angels on earth. Thank you.
That was just wonderful. Our next person we're bringing up is Paula Greco. She is another inspirational person that we are all proud to know.
I am a pancreatic cancer survivor. It'll be 4 years It was 4 years in March that I was diagnosed. And being a nurse, when I received the diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, I was devastated, I must say. A lot of things ran through my mind, a lot of questions. What should I do? Should I get a second opinion? I just didn't know where to start. And it was shocking to me because I was never ill. I just thought I had the flu. And then I got jaundiced and I knew something was wrong. So I went to my family doctor, who was my boss, Dr. Baslak, and he quickly ordered a CAT scan and lab work. And there it was. Things moved real quickly, and the next thing I knew, I was in Pittsburgh having stents put in my liver. And then my life began at Barco, and I can't say enough good about Barco and my doctor, Dr. Brown, and his expertise in ordering the chemotherapy that he ordered for me, which was rather new and didn't have many statistics on it. But it worked for me. I had chemotherapy for 6 months, and it shrunk my tumor, that I was able to have a Whipple surgery in Pittsburgh. And the chemo had shrunk the tumor drastically. So I had the surgery in September in 2012. My surgeon was Dr. Sung, and he reassured me after the 8-hour surgery that the entire tumor was removed and all the margins were clear. So again, I'm thankful for Dr. Sung for his wonderful surgical skills. And again, I would not have been able to have the surgery without Dr. Brown and his expertise in the chemo that he ordered. And Barco, I can't say enough about Barco, the wonderful people, the caring, loving, thoughtful, I can go on and on and on. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful facility, and we are blessed to have that facility here, right here in Meadville. And I've been very fortunate. I've had to beat the 10% survival rate of this deadly disease, and I also stress to keep a positive attitude. That's the number one thing. And yes, you have side effects, but I'm a survivor, so that beats everything. And the excellent doctors, the wonderful care, the lots of prayers have got me to where I am, a 4-year survivor. And I pray a lot. I had a lot of people praying for me, and I know God heard all these prayers, and that's why I'm here today. So I'd like to thank Barco for this great gathering today, and everybody just stay well. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. That was wonderful as well. I love to hear our patients speak. It is always inspiring, and we learn so much from each other. So thank you all. And we'll bring on Dr. Brown now.
So I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I use notes because I don't like to speak. Everybody who knows me knows that. And I was actually very reluctant to stand up here today because I feel like if you have to listen to me, then I should be saying something meaningful or at least memorable in the 5 minutes that I have of fame. And I joked with my wife, like the great singer Justin Timberlake, I wanted to bring sexy back today. She quickly laughed and reminded me there was no chance I was bringing it back because I never had it to begin with. To beat that, Dr. Hahn said that he wasn't going to talk to me anymore if I didn't give a good speech today, so now the pressure's really on. Yeah. So because I walked into the wrong room at the wrong time, I'm in front of you here today. But as I stand here, I'm truly humbled by the tenacity, the perseverance, and the pure strength that I see embodied by our patients out in front of me. You deserve this day, and I think you deserve a round of applause for being here. This opportunity led me to spend a lot of time thinking about the word survivorship. And it's a little interesting to me that the popular press has grasped the term Survivor's Day. When I hear a survivor, I'm happy for those who survive, but it carries a connotation that just doesn't sit well. And so I spent time thinking about the words that I would use to describe the human experience, so to say. And the two words that came to mind were surviving and living. The actual definitions are similar when you look them up. Survival is defined as carrying on with attention to our basic needs. Living has a similar definition, but it can also be used as a descriptor for things like a glowing ember, a flowing water, anything that is thriving, vibrant, vigorous, or strong. An example I saw used that we all have living rooms at home, but nobody I think here has a surviving room at home. And if you do, I don't want to visit you. Living and surviving imply things beyond their basic definition and syntax. Surviving implies denying or opposing death. It insinuates avoiding hunger, thirst, mortal wounds, and conquering, or at least enduring, a life-threatening illness. Living, on the other hand, is about growing, learning, achieving emotional fulfillment from those things that you enjoy, and most importantly, I think, creating lasting, and I'll go so far as to call them treasured, memories involving experiences, friends, and loved ones. Philosophers and artists throughout the ages have pondered these differences in their works. Just listen to the lyrics and songs, or pay attention to the underlying themes in movies and television. We had a country music person speak here earlier, and I will take bets on whether more country music songs deal with living or just plain surviving. More so than artists and philosophers, I was interested to see if there were any comments about surviving from people who had faced cancer themselves. And I'd like to share from you some comments from a page called Words of Inspiration. It's on the American Cancer Society's website. And these comments and stories were compiled in a book called Picture Your Life After Cancer. It was based on questionnaires to cancer patients about how they viewed their life after their diagnoses. Robin Katz, Chicago, Illinois. Life's much more brilliant. Words have more meaning. Actions have more meaning. Butterflies, coffee, bright blue skies seem so much more important than petty disagreements. Relationships are more important than how many hours a week I have worked, and every day is truly a gift. Allison A. She's pictured on a camel with pyramids behind her in a desert. Scars may heal, blood counts may normalize, and years may pass. But never again will a simple act of waking up to a normal, boring day as a healthy individual be taken for granted, nor go unappreciated. Yodi Collins, Fairfax, Virginia. I died of cancer in 2004. 6 months later, after a meticulous chemotherapy regimen, I was reborn into something remarkable. I have spent the years since celebrating that spring day. Today I am love, hope, I am joy, wisdom, and I am strength. Buck Usher, Seattle, Washington. Life is different after cancer because my priorities have completely reversed. Before, I was motivated by my career and tended to neglect my personal life. Now I put life first. I take the time to go on vacations. I enjoy my friends and family. When one is faced with death, you suddenly realize what matters and what doesn't. Though I wouldn't wish cancer on anyone, it was probably the best thing to happen to me. It reminded me that you only live once, and you must make the most of your life when you can. Kazuma Inouye, Osaka, Japan. I was sentenced to have 2 types of cancer just 1 month after I retired at 61. Thanks to 2 different operations, I could come back to my daily life. 2 years later, I again began to climb mountains. I would like to climb all of the 100 famous mountains in Japan. So far, I'm on 56, and he pictured at the top of his 56th mountain. And finally, the one that hit closest to home for me, from Dr. David Posner, New York, New York. I'm a physician, and I stepped onto the other side of the patient-doctor equation when I was diagnosed with cancer. I know now what it's like to be told you have cancer, what it's like to wait for the phone call with your latest CT scan results, and what it's like to feel your heart sink. I'm a better physician and a better person for it. I also learned how dinner with your wife and kids and coffee on a Sunday morning is all it takes to be in nirvana. So again, don't get me wrong, I am an idealist, but I'm also a realist, and I am not naive. I understand every day can't be spent climbing mountains and traveling to foreign countries, and none of us wake up in a bed of roses in a room full of butterflies with the smell of warm apple pie wafting by our noses under perpetually sunny skies. Sometimes all this world will allow is survival. Circumstance dictates that we simply steal one more breath, drag the next foot forward, and muster every bit of courage to face the next challenge in front of us. But to me, the comments from these survivors, or I think the better term I now agree with is cancer thriver, vividly illustrate the transition these individuals made from viewing themselves as merely surviving as opposed to choosing to live and thrive after their diagnosis. Their illness brought with it for them the ability to glean good from bad, and an epiphany about the truly important things in life that are too oft forgot or overlooked. They have grown through their disease as opposed to allowing the disease to grow through them. So while I wrote this speech, I had my own epiphany as to why the word survivor never sat well with me. It's because my goal as a physician is to see my patients not merely survive, it is to see them live and see them thrive. I implore you, even on those days when it seems difficult just to survive, never miss the opportunity to embrace life by laughing with a friend, telling a good story, giving Dr. Hahn a hug, or your family member a hug, or simply making a good family memory. Because I believe those memories are truly the only treasures that we may be able to carry with us beyond this earth. So as I close, I want to thank the volunteers and the donors whose efforts, without which we would not have this event. And I also want to thank our wonderful staff here at YGBOI. I have never worked with a set of more caring individuals in my entire life. And mostly, I want to thank you, our patients, for putting your trust in us. We truly do appreciate that. I have two favors to ask here at the end. The first is that take the chance today to make some of those memories I was talking about. Take the chance to thrive today. This is for you, okay? And the second favor I have is if you see my wife, even if you don't believe it, you tell her I brought sexy back today, okay?
At any rate, what a nice job by everyone, and thank you all. Great day. We'll see you all next year.